Welcome back to another episode of the Erickson Brothers podcast. I'm here in sunny San Diego. My name is Jeff Erickson. I'm one of the co-hosts here with my older brother, Matt. Matt, how we doing?
Coming at you from Boston. Doing well.
Boston,
Except,
man. Why are you in Boston?
yeah. I'm in Boston visiting a girlfriend's family and uh hanging out. Gonna watch some football, watch some hockey, potentially see a friend. Uh but yeah.
All right,
Mhm.
legit. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, man.
So,
Well, let's jump right in. First thing, first topic. Um, Go for it.
well, the first topic is we may or may not have, or we didn't violate a compliance issue, but we need to make sure that we're not going forward. Uh, so my work, not to be named, um, uh, found out about this podcast and reached out to me and said, "Oh, is this incorporated? Are you making money off of it? Are you giving financial advice? Are you mentioning the bank in any way?" And I think the answer to most of those is no. Definitely not making any money off of it yet, is what I told them. Um, but yeah, I think it goes along with the theme of this podcast is that like we're not coming at this from a perspective of having the right answers and giving advice, whether it be spiritual, physical, emotional, financial. We're not giving advice. We're just sharing um, from the perspective of, hey, our views could potentially change going forward, and here's where they are now, and coming at it from a point of transparency with not knowing what we're talking about, but being open about that. So I think it's interesting in that way, and we can continue to be open and honest about, hey, this is where we're at, and um, we're okay with that. We're not going to have we're not making money at the moment. We're not incorporated. We don't are we're not coming from wealth of knowledge or anything like that, and um, we're just here sharing our thoughts. I think what my next thought with that is, so to completely wrap that up, not here giving financial advice, not here giving any type of advice. But hey, we're here, we're informing, we're educating, we're sharing what we're seeing. Um, in my next thought, it's okay. So what's going to make this worth listening to? If we're not coming at this from a perspective of here's where I am, listen to me. We're coming at it from perspective, here's where I am. Let's this is where we're at for better or for worse, and we're going to talk about it. And not really expecting much else, but we do need to provide value in order to it to grow into anything else. And I feel like I've gotten a lot of value out of this, having more intentional conversations than just catching up. So it's enough value for me, but in order for it to provide some value to our listeners, we uh, we can start to gear our conversations towards what people have been listening to. Um, well, even though we are providing value, we are still open and honest about where we're coming from and not having the answers. So I think it's a very interesting balance, but one that lots of podcasts don't come from the perspective. And like, maybe we take ourselves a little bit too seriously and all that, but I think it's definitely something that we can think about going forward.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I always think like we're students, not teachers. All right, we're
Mhm.
students of the game. And I feel like we've been pretty upfront with that in the beginning. I don't feel like we've ever been like, yeah, do this or do that. Um, so yeah, 100%. 100%. So
Mhm.
yeah, good stuff. Um, in regards to, in regards to, providing value and actually growing, one thing we were talking about before we started recording was, talking about topics that have gotten the most views. Should we dive into that? Should we first, you want to start with another topic? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can dive into it right now and just see
Good.
again continue with the transparency. Where are people listening? And I think there's and maybe this is we don't know what we're doing. Maybe this is best done in a medium privately and then just going into these topics. But hey, we're gonna continue to come at it with full transparency and honesty of hey, if um
Yeah,
li-
I mean, we're like, hey, let's take back the curtain. Let's see what's up. Let's go to
yeah,
videos.
so 2 views, 6 views, 12. Oh, interesting. Jeff's
So
engagement in the law of entropy.
we can go to sort by popular. Episode 10, this one popped off.
For
48 a year
new
ago.
branding for associations work until the job is finished. Okay, yeah, so we're getting there.
Waking up early.
This is the first time I've seen this page actually.
Yeah, I can give you a login if you're interested. This one was really funny. I remember doing that. The TikTok trolls one, that was funny.
So we're at we're
Some
not
of
at
them, there's like, is there a way to, there's a way to like
okay.
your, there's a way to like track it. Manage videos.
My hair changes so different. It's kind of
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I
I
was
go
like,
from longer hair to shorter hair to facial hair to no facial hair to beard.
um, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Content. See if we can back this up.
View duration, 6 minutes, 27 seconds.
See if we can.
Hey,
Oh, wow, this is. What am I looking at here?
we got another
Oh,
10 views a few
last
days ago. Just dropped.
365 days. Oh, jeez. Good.
I think that like might be from the compliance people at
H,
work. That's and
HR department. Come on. Hey, come
HR,
on.
it's a lot of views. But I was thinking, I was laughing to myself when I was told that um I was when work found out, and it was I started laughing for a few reasons because I was like, if somebody's gonna sit down and um uh listen to our podcast, like what are they gonna hear? They're gonna hear like probably a lot of the Bible. They're gonna hear like a lot of interesting things, and it's like, yeah, somebody has no idea what they're getting themselves into.
Dude, they're gonna
And
learn a lot, dude. Like, look at this. 75 hard. My Whoop sponsor. David Goggins is stupid. Man, they're learning a whole bunch.
David Goggins is stupid. Wow. I don't think I ever said that, but that's hilarious.
These are the
But
most popular ones. These ones as well. 453, 282. And this is all like organic, It's not anyone following us. So it's all organic push. So I don't know. Fascinating stuff.
mhm.
Fascinating.
Okay. From the YouTube shorts, we have keeping the promises you make to yourself. Um,
This is sorting by popular.
okay, House 75 yard, effective sleep, gumball machine, commit to the actions, walking your.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's just pick. I think we can. It seems pretty broad. It doesn't seem like there's any one thing.
It's all
So
over the place.
I think um, being single in New York City. That's funny. Um,
Send that one to
Not
me.
anymore, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You like this? 6 a.m.
6
wake
p.m.
up call fail. Fail.
That's
Hey,
hilarious.
our marketing team's doing great.
That's awesome. Well, anyway, there's a lot of content out here, so I'm kind of pumped about that. Um, so yeah, let's knowing that we don't have a whole lot of, it's not like there's one thing. It's not like personal development is um pushing views, or it's not like faith is pushing views, or it's not like our personal lives are pushing views. It just seems like it's across the board.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, to be honest, none of them are pushing views. Like to only have 300,
Yeah.
maybe, um, which is fine, right? We're not in it for anything other than sitting down and being here. Um, so yeah,
Maybe
let's
if we just if we like just showed feet pics the whole time, maybe we'd get more views.
they don't. Hey, Haley yesterday or earlier this week, she's like, "Can I trim the hairs on your feet?" And you've seen my feet, Jeff. Like they're like there's some like hairy parts to them.
Matt has like bunches of hair that like you could braid like the toe hair on Matt's feet.
Watch it. Yeah, that'll be the video that pops off. Then the Erickson brothers OnlyFans with feet pics.
Yeah.
We're just so I think, it, but our so we going from that, we're learning in that what we just learned is that it's pretty broad.
Hmm.
In particular, has gotten that jump off the page, and it's so at the moment it seems to be where the bottleneck is, right? If we're looking at this from a business perspective, right, and growing this thing, it our bottle talking we need to talk about faith more, we need to talk about working out more, we need to talk about our personal lives more. Our bottleneck is just the it could be in content volume, right, or it could be in content quality, um or it could just I would think it's the only two things. Those are the only two things. There might be like, if right, because we're either not putting enough out there, or the things we do put out there people are not watching, and they're not clicking on our page to watch because it's not at a good quality, right? So I think, and I think like the from my perspective, like we can do a little bit better on volume. I think that but realistically, like we're both leading pretty busy lives, and we need to
Well,
live
like
those.
if it's important, like we can pay somebody to chop up videos and create shorts, like if that's important. If
Yeah,
yeah, we should talk about what some of the goals of the podcast are. And if growing
I
it, I
yeah
think it'd be important.
yeah I think it, like for me, like maybe we start this in 2025. We commit to, like, we can hire somebody, knowing that it might be like it will be like there's a cost associated to that. So now not only are we putting our time into it, but we're putting our finances into it, right? So I think that's reasonable. Like, I don't know, pay somebody 4 hours a week, right? Like, not nothing crazy. 2 hours a week. Um, so we do that, and I think then, uh, with regards to content, I think like I I don't have a ring light. Like, I'm not paying attention to lighting or a camera angle or things like that, but those might be things that matter going forward if we continue to do this.
Hmm. Yeah, man, you got to step it up when it comes to people seeing your beautiful face.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
your hygiene's dialed in. I can tell that, you got the brand new haircut and your beard's trimmed. So the buttons are down on your shirt. I mean, you're dialed in on all fronts. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a Friday. Business casual.
he's
Shave,
ready.
but
You're ready for like a, downtown Boston photo shoot right now. Like the
yeah.
like the flannel. I bet you're wearing jeans right now.
I'm not. I'm wearing sweats. Put me in the Tommy Hilfiger fall catalog for 2024, like,
Yeah, come on. With like Tims that aren't tied at all.
yeah. Yeah. Well, in that case, I'd probably need to grow out my hair a little bit and like
Yeah,
start
that's true.
wearing axe around. Um,
That's also true. I could see that.
yeah. So I think uh, that's true. And then we can. I would love to start bringing on people in our network to talk with us on the podcast. Um,
Yeah, I mean, 2025 would be year three for us.
yeah, I think things that come to mind like spiritual leaders, business leaders, um, like we start to have these intentional conversations um, with people that actually know what they're doing. Um,
Yeah, and I know here's another disclaimer. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to get on our podcast. We don't let everyone, you're going to have to qualify. We'll accept some candidates and we'll have a discussion around who we think could provide the most amount of value. I know there's a lot of people that are probably going to hit us up to want to be on our podcast, but just want to
yeah.
let everyone know that we don't take everyone, so don't feel bad if, we don't respond.
Hey, but also we could continue to come at it from the perspective of, hey, here we are, we don't know what we're doing. Let's also talk to somebody that's in the same spot as us, right? Let's
Mhm.
also intentional conversations about how they think about life, how they think about work, how they think about God, how they think about managing um, finances and physical health, mental health, emotional health, seeing friends, having fun.
Yeah.
Um, it could be valuable to continue to talk to people who are coming at it from our perspective. And I think there's value in both because, right, I think every other podcast is going to try and get the most well-known guy, right? They're like with the highest resume, and the highest degree of pedigree. But if we continue to come at it and say, hey, let's just go for the normal guy that we know,
Mhm.
right? That's just in his own that is doing his best to just like absolutely kill it in his world, right? And that it doesn't need to be he doesn't need to be killing it on a worldly standard. He's just a guy who's going to his job every day or going to the gym every day and just trying to be excellent at and owning whatever part of his life that is.
What do you think about this? What do you think if like we have questions that we ask every single person? Like right when you said that, I was thinking about like a question, for example, we could be like, what are you learning in regards to XYZ? And then we're asking the questions about how people are learning new things instead of how they're giving advice on something. It's like, how are they growing or how are they learning? So maybe we can think of some questions that, obviously we'll tailor different questions to different people, but maybe we have like one or two questions that we ask everyone.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. And a lot of podcasts do that, and it seems to go well. Like that, there's consistency in that. Um, yeah, so like, okay, like uh, I think like a good question is like, okay, like what are you learning spiritually? What is the Lord teaching you right now? Right? We've talked about that a lot. I love that question. Um, and then maybe just like, oh, what's one thing that's coming to your mind, and like what do you want to share with people? I don't know. We can definitely talk about it, but I think these are the types of things that would generate content. And I even think like this 5 minute conversation is good content too, to continue to be open and honest about what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, dude, good stuff. Well, maybe we'll create a Google Doc and we can just put down some ideas of people that we think would be good to bring on. Um,
Hmm.
and we can brainstorm that off camera.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good idea
I
though.
think
I like that.
Yeah, I think of our friend who moved to Memphis recently. I won't say his name, but he's a physical trainer in Memphis, and he's posting a lot of videos and increasing his outreach to his potential network of physical therapy and strength clients. And he's trying to build a business like that, and um, he's done a really good job, I think, of putting out good content, and there's music behind it, and it's informative, and he's getting yoked. So he's definitely killing it in his little way, right? To the outside world, like he's just a guy, right? Like
Hmm.
we're dudes, but to us, he is absolutely just like doing amazing in whatever life, or whatever like avenue of life that he's pursuing.
Yeah, yeah, dude, that's great. And I love that. I love people in the fight. I love people in the trenches. People that are getting after it. So I think that'd be a great example for sure.
hmm Yeah, well, let's get into a topic
Yeah,
of
dude,
our
tell
own.
me real quick, bro. Tell me about your marathon. How'd that go?
Uh, yeah, lots to share. One, I guess the result is important. I ran it in 3 hours, 55 minutes, and 38 seconds. Um, ran the entire way. So that I think the mile pace is exactly 9 minutes, um, which is around what I was training for. So felt good about that. I beat one of my friends who ran it by 30 seconds and beat another friend who ran it last year by a minute. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. Then I also lost to one of my friends who also ran it this year by like 35 minutes. So, it's all about who you compare yourself to. Um, but yeah, one of my buddies, he ran it in like 3:20. Just absolutely killed it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Um, it-
That's
yeah.
speedy.
Um, but I think, you know, miles 1 to 14, um, it's just like you're just hanging out, right? Somebody told me before the race, or just race strategy. They're like, hey, miles 1 to 13, you're just relaxing. You're out for a jog, right? You're enjoying it. You're staying locked in, not getting like too sucked in the crowd, but you're just you're just out there, right? And then he said, okay, then miles 13 to 20, it's business, right? You're getting tired but you still need to focus and you've got some energy in the tank. And you're just knocking them down, right? It's you're not fresh, you're not gone. And it's just business. And then he said the last six is just when it's all heart, and that's when you're totally gassed. Every incremental increase in the gradient feels like another like two steps up. Like it's just you're absolutely like emptying yourself physically. And so I kind of heard that, and I kind of stick to that too. I think that's pretty much how my race went. I was feeling really good. And then once you come into Manhattan around mile 14, you go up First Ave and you start going up around like 58th or 59th Street, and you go all the way to 140 something. So you're going up for about 80 blocks, and it's just like a steady incline the entire time. And that just took it out of me. Um, that was pretty much miles like 14 to 19, 14 to 20. Tons of people, tons of stuff going on, but that's when that's when like my energy kind of got zapped. And then 20 to 26, when you're coming back down from the Bronx into Manhattan, um, it's bumping, crowd is loud, you closing in on it. Um, and it's, it's just, it's just all heart, everything hurts. So it was a good experience. I think, I was sick when I ran it. So I think next time, not be sick. I think everybody says like have pasta the night before. I don't think that works for me. I did have pasta, but I think I need to go like more steak and potatoes route and vegetables over pasta route, because I think that 14 to 20, having like some like true protein in my stomach still, would have helped a lot in that time period. Um, and I think what was cool too is I ran the entire thing with a firefighter. We were just talking before the race, and he ended up saying, "It's like, oh, I'm going for 3:45 4." Um, and I was like, "Okay, great, that's my shot too." And we ran the entire 26.2 together, and it was great. Like he was a total crowd guy, like just encouraging people the entire time, encouraging other runners. Um, just an amazing dude. Um, and like people are going like, oh, go FDNY, go FDNY. And like when people started to walk, he starts to cheer them on, and he was just like an incredible guy to run with. And what was funny too is that the entire time he was saying, he's like, Matt, like whenever you're good, you don't have to like keep running with me. You can take off. You can go. And I'm like, and I'm like, damn, man, I am struggling right now. You are absolutely pulling me through this. And he kept on saying that to me. I'm like, no, dude, like this is, I'm just trying to like finish this thing. Like you're the one who's pulling me. So, who knows what my time would be without him, and just his pacing. Yeah, it was just an incredible experience, super loud. Um, I think we'll see what happens going forward.
Dude, I was just thinking maybe he'd be a cool guy to bring on the pod, a
Yeah,
firefighter in New York City, and if he has the character and the work ethic, and it seems like good heart and everything. I mean, it'd be cool to hear his perspective and see what he
yeah,
has to say.
yeah, yeah.
Do you get his number?
I got his email. I only knew his first name, so I'm not positive on his last name. And then somebody was able to connect us, because the charity I ran with was the volunteer fire department. So I like people reached out to their people, and I was able to get his email, but I'm not positive that it's him. I'm trying to look him up on the internet or LinkedIn, but um, I'm not positive I found him yet. But yeah, would love to get him on the pod.
All right, cool. We'll throw him on the back burner. Dude, I saw in some of the photos you didn't have a watch. Like you didn't have a watch on. Like how were you tracking your time?
Well, I had my Whoop,
But like, where
and
did you have your phone?
yeah,
Oh, you did have your phone.
yeah, I just put my phone in like my short pocket, in the
Oh. So were you
lock.
checking every mile?
Um, no, I didn't check it.
Well, so like, how do you know you're keeping a pace?
Um, just from the training runs, I knew like pretty closely what I was running at. Um, and then like the guy Tim, he also had a watch, so he was tracking. Um, but like yeah, I when I've been running so much, like I pretty much know within like 5 to 10 seconds what my pace is.
Got it. That's
But yeah, um, yeah, definitely some good photos out of it. Had to post on Instagram, all that stuff.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, what would you say you learned from the whole experience? I was gonna say what advice would you give,
Mm.
but I'm gonna flip my question. What would you say you learned from the
I,
experience, either training or doing it or, you know,
I training. Well, I think the nutrition piece is big. I was like sucking down goos and waters and stuff, and I think the night before and me being sick and like me only on 3 hours of sleep had an impact.
Jeez.
So it was I had a 1% recovery, and I've never had a sober 1% recovery before that day. Um, so it was arguably
Wow.
the worst sleep I've ever had without drinking. Um,
Going into the biggest workout you ever done.
yeah. Um, so I was joking around that I beat the Whoop. Um, I had a 1% recovery and ran a marathon, so I think I won. Um,
I think that
so
counts.
I think it's it was definitely a big like weight off my shoulders when I finished, because I was able to, when I got back in the gym after, it's like okay, it's so nice, like I can run how far I want, I can bench, um I can lift, yeah, that's nuts, huh? um
That's crazy.
I I can there is just like so much freedom you get from not needing to train for something, which I wasn't really expecting the actual emotions that I would get from having the freedom to train now since leaving the marathon. So I texted in our family group chat that I said that now going back to the weight room and working out and running and riding is is like being able to watch The Office again for the first time. Um,
Dude, I missed that part. Dude, I love that reference.
right?
Dude,
Um,
I remember watching The Office for the first time at Ben Nielsen's house.
yeah, I know what couch we were sitting on, what his TV looked like. Um, and but like that's kind of like how I've been thinking about it. Um, so I mean, what else did I learn? I mean, like I remember like I was doing core exercises like the like Wednesday or Thursday after the marathon and just did a nice like arm workout with core at the end. And I was, like doing my plank or whatever. And I was like, oh, it's getting hard. Like I'm at like minute plus. And I'm like, hey, I ran a marathon. Like that was like 2 hours of fun, an hour of hard, and an hour of suck. Like I can do another um like 30 seconds, right? So I think just being able to go back to that like time when I was like, oh, if I can get through that, like I can get through this. And that's what everybody says too. Um so and that's going back to like David Goggins, like the cookie jar. Um and like I when I've gone to the cookie jar, I've just thought it's like okay, like I can go back to like some baseball outings. I can go back to um, some like big lifts that I did, or big workouts that I have, or good moments at work. And now running the marathon, I can definitely add to that cookie jar of just moments that I can go back to. Um, One, I guess now that I'm on David Goggins topic, um, I was on like mile 21 and I'm like running up the right side of the road uh, in Central Park. And like I was just so locked in, like people, like there's a ton of people that ended up coming to watch me and they were like within their own groups. And then a few weeks after, people said, oh, like we saw you, but like we tried to get your attention and like you didn't hear it, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I was like pretty locked in and pretty tired and just trying to get through it. But one thing I did hear around like mile 21, 22, 23 was this guy, as I ran by, just say, now that guy's a unit. And I was, and I remember that. And one of my buddies, Pierce, and we always pumped each other up by calling each other units. And when I heard that, I was like, that's nice to like have some random person in the crowd just say like this guy's a unit. And that's like all I heard, right? For probably 3 miles. Um, was just like out of all the things that people said was I heard that like one thing this one guy said. So that was cool. Um, and then somebody else I heard a little bit later, like mile 24, mile 25, somebody just starts yelling from the crowd, like, go take souls, right? Which is a big Goggins thing, like take
Yeah.
everybody's soul. And it's just like, and that's within the marathon context. It's like, all right, like every time you pass somebody, like you're winning against them, you're beating them, you're taking their energy and using it for fuel. Like when everybody else is out there struggling, you are out competing and passing people. So I really like that. Um, yeah, those are my thoughts. I've shared a lot. I've found.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool. That's
yeah.
cool. Our Uncle Mark, when I asked him about the Ironman, he was like, "Yeah, it's like a 12-hour workout that you do, and then it's a 2-hour sprint, and then it's like an hour of you visiting hell."
Hmm.
And that like really resonated with me. I didn't resonate it from a point of like I can understand where he's coming from, but it like that clicked in my head because I was thinking about it like working out for 12 hours, like I can think about what that would be like, and then like sprinting for like another hour or 2 hours, like I can think about how that would suck. And then like the
Hmm.
last part, just like what you said, like visiting hell for a little bit. And yeah, I mean that's just crazy. It's crazy, and I don't know, that might be another chapter in my life where I end up going down that going down that fitness route,
Yeah.
that extreme fitness route.
I
But
think too,
who knows?
too with that, it's just so cool to be able to live in a period of history where we have thousands of people running marathons, right? And we seek out discomfort, right? Because our lives are just so easy naturally, like just straight up easy and naturally. Like there's definitely hard things, but now we're at a place where society is seeking out discomfort and seeking out like
Challenge.
pain and challenge. Um, and just I think coming out from like just being able to be so grateful that we have the ability to sign up for marathons and run marathons and get cheered on by 50,000 people. Like another time in history, a young 25-year-old man who is out there like looking for an adventure, looking for a thrill, like he goes to war, right? He you roll it back, like he goes and needs to go fight a bear so his family can eat. Like
Yeah,
you could
I was just thinking of that, like the caveman going out and like hunting a
yeah,
meat, dragging it back to the fire.
exactly like that. Like we live in such an amazing time to just like, oh, I'm just gonna run 26.2 miles for fun, right? There were times when people did that because they needed to survive and they needed their family to survive. Um, and it wasn't optional. It wasn't, you didn't have the goos and you didn't have the med tents and you didn't have thousands of people cheering you on, the DJs and the all that. Like no, like people for most of human history were doing things like this for survival.
Yeah, the origin story of the marathon's cool too. I was just
Hmm.
thinking of like, because my understanding of it is the dude had to run back to say that the war was over. I can't remember if it was like the Roman War or it was like some fight. I don't know if you know all the details on that, but I don't know. It's like all that one race back to his hometown to say that the battle was won, created this, ripple effect that'll
Yeah,
probably never be forgotten. The
yeah,
marathon's probably never gonna not be a thing.
yeah. I forget where he ran from. I'm gonna look it up, but I know he ran to the city of Marathon, Greece. Um, yeah, so
I think his name was Philippides, if I remember correctly.
yeah, exactly. The messenger Philippides um, ran from Marathon to Athens with the news that they had beat the Persians, right?
Okay.
Um, when he got there, um, uh, he then like the fable, the stories he got there, um, yells out victory in Greek, which is Nike, and then he died.
Like heart attack on the spot.
Yeah, yeah,
That's great. Is there a marathon from Marathon to Athens? There gotta be.
there has to be. Um,
That'd be sick. How cool would that be to actually run the original marathon?
hmm hmm
I
Yeah,
had a,
it's no,
I had a friend of mine that did the marathon in Italy. There's one in Venice. There's a marathon in Venice, Italy, and it ends on an island. And it was about a month ago. So he did that.
mm, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now that I'm past this marathon and like looking to do more potentially, um, I think that using training and running marathons is a good way to see different parts of the US and different parts of the world.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah, yeah. What's up with you?
Dude, nothing new. I'm excited to go out to New York City coming up. Parents come in town pretty soon. They come in town next week for Thanksgiving. So that's gonna be cool and just spending time with them. Looking forward to that. And yeah, just thinking of all the things I want to do in New York City. There's a bunch of like Christmas bars that I think would be fun to go to and restaurants that are decked out, and Kayla sends me a lot of stuff on TikTok that is like, if you have 48 hours in New York City, like this is your agenda. So I don't know. We're just planning that, and I love the holidays. We just decked out our whole house in Christmas themed. I live with three other guys, and we have two Christmas trees and Christmas lights, and like it's before Thanksgiving, which I know is a controversial topic, but there's a stat I saw. It said people that decorate early for Christmas are more happy than other people. So
Oh, really?
yeah, hey, you know what? I think I might fall into that category. So I'm excited for the holidays, man. I was listening to Christmas music today, and it's fun. It's just a good time of the year.
It is. It is. I think Christmas is my favorite season. Um, I just love the Christmas season.
I
Especially
love, yeah.
I mean, there's the bars, there's the restaurants, there's the touristy stuff, and it's all just so cool.
And your home does it the best, in my opinion. In my opinion, New York City does it the best.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to see that in Rockefeller Center and the ice rink and everything. So it'll be good.
Yeah, yeah, it will be. And that's less than a month away now. So,
Yeah, yeah. All right. Closing thoughts. Closing thoughts as we get ready for the rest of our Friday and our weekend. Give us some closing thoughts here.
I would just love to ask what is the Lord teaching you right now?
Oh, great question. I went out to breakfast and I love this question because I stole this question. I went out to breakfast with the head of FCA in San Diego, the area director, and he runs the FCA board. And I got coffee with him last week and I asked him that same question. I said, "What's the Lord teaching you?" And he told me, and then he asked me what the Lord was teaching me. And there's this sermon that stuck with me, and it was my church is going through a series called "In Cash We Trust." And it's like the title is like "In God We Trust" and it's crossed out and it says "In Cash We Trust." And what the Lord is teaching me is if you trust in money, then you can't also trust in God. Like
Hmm.
by trusting and by having faith in the money that you have, you're then not having faith in God. And it's like it can't be, oh, I trust my bank account, my credit card, but I also trust in God. It's like you have to pick one or the other, and it has to be a decision. It's like you have to pick one or the other. So that's number one. And then number two is the translation of you can't serve two things. It has to be God or money. Well, the original word for money is mammon. All right, have you heard that before? And
Hmm.
mammon is it's not only like the Jewish word for money or like the Hebrew word for money, but it's also the name of the demon that represents money, and it represents like worshiping money. And
Hmm.
by trusting in money and by worshiping money, you're worshiping this demon. And man, I was like, holy cow, like that's so deep. And I was like, man, this demon just wants us to worship him and think so much of him. And um one thing I'm learning about God and God's character is trusting and having faith in him means 100% faith in all areas of your life. It's not, oh, I can trust in him and also trust a little bit here and give a little room over here. It's complete surrender. So that's what I'm learning.
Wow. And no, that's really cool to hear and a good reminder daily because I think the yeah, just there's so much to take away. And I think like for me with relationship to that stuff is it's not like, oh, like today I'm trusting God and I'm not trusting money, so I'm good forever, you know? Like
Yeah,
it is a constant battle of
so true.
putting my faith in God and God alone over um it could be money, it could be job security, it could be friends, relationships, like all those things can be good. But we need to put them in proper perspective with God, and it's a journey of constantly making that decision every single day. Um, and maybe even more than that to say like, hey, I'm gonna turn away from what the world has to offer, and I'm gonna turn to what God has to offer. because what we see now in society is the people that have received all what the Lord all have received all what the world has to offer. Um, they're failing. They are in drug rehab facilities. They are doing like these bad things, and you hear about so often like the times that celebrities, famous people, rich people, like the world has been able to give them everything, and you can just see that. Are they satisfied? No. Are they happy? No. um it like for some reason we pursue these things, fame, money, and like security, and what when we see the people that do have these things, like they're not any better off than the rest of us. And
Yeah.
it's what's the like where we put our faith. So what is what did this FCA leader say?
Dude, he thought it was good, and you know, he was going along with that, and he gave me some Bible verses that uh you know, kind of associated that. But yeah, no, he was just
Well,
I mean, and I don't remember anything he specifically said. It was more of just like a conversation I just kind of summarized. So,
what did he say the Lord was teaching him?
oh, he used the word provision because he's
Mm.
100% on people's contributions, and he said, you know, God always provides, and God always provides what you need, and you know, regardless. And he's just, I think, you know, as a, you know, when your whole life is depending on people donating and giving to an organization, you really have to, you know, buy into that more than if not. So yeah, the first thing he said was provision, and he said God always provides what you need. So
Mhm. That's
yep.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
What would you say if I were to flip it real quick? And then I gotta go because I do have a meeting in a couple minutes, but real quick, what would you say?
Okay, I would say sermon I listened to recently talked kind of about this, and I've changed it, but it's it's the three A's. It's not enough to acknowledge God. It's not enough to admire God. We need to apprentice under God, and we need to did do as he did and follow him and orient our lives and our heart constantly. And that's what it is to apprentice under somebody. Um, we see in the Bible there are demons that acknowledge who God is, and they are and they're demons. We see people today that say, "Oh yeah, I think there's a God out there. There's some type of higher power. I don't know what it is, but there's something." That would be acknowledging God. And then we see people in the Bible that admire God, and they think, "Oh, this is really cool what he's teaching." But then they come to a turning point or a road where it leads to a decision, and they end up not following. And we see people today too. They say, "Oh, like I think the morals of the Bible are good, and this is like Jesus was a good moral teacher and social teacher, and he taught us how to give and how to love, and like that would be admiring God. But if ultimately you're not apprenticing under God and you're not changing your decisions, then it you're if you're not putting your complete faith and trust in God and God's provision, like the FCA leader, like we know where those people are going when they're dying. And this is not coming out from a judgmental standpoint. This is just like factual. And like I'm not to say who is and who's not, but we do know from what the Bible says is if you don't put your faith in the Lord, and if you don't profess with your mouth who's king, and if you don't um, uh, put God before other gods, like we know what happens. And I'm not to say who ends up in heaven and who ends up in hell, but we can't only admire God, we can't only acknowledge God, we must apprentice under God. Um, so that's my takeaway. That's what I've been learning. I think too, there's definitely some. I'm going through Romans, as I've said, there's a lot of stuff with Romans 5. It's just so packed with like good knowledge from Paul and who God's character is and God's things. Um, so we can talk about that another time. But yeah, wanted to share the three A's that I have adopted um, into my own like thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think it's intentional about being all three. It's like, yeah, the end goal is apprenticeship, but it's also admiring on a deep level, like having like a yearn for understanding
Mm,
and getting to know him. And it's like acknowledging him and like who he is and your Lord and Savior and whatnot. And it's also, so
absolutely.
I think it's like it's not moving from one to another. I think it's like, the 360 of all
Right.
of them.
Yeah, and I think if now that I'm thinking, we are to take all those three, like we're to move from one to the next, then what happens is like God adopts us as his own children. And we are, and
That's the fourth A.
the fourth A is adoption. It's what God did for us. And I think that what's important is that it's not our like our salvation is not a matter of what we do, our ability to admire, our ability to acknowledge, or our ability to apprentice. Um, it's our acknowledgement of what God did and how we apprentice under that is a result of our salvation, but it's not um, a cause to our salvation. So, yeah, we can continue with A's. You got
Yeah. Oh, that,
this adoption, um, and then uh, there's one more I said. Um,
well, like the Bible, there's the atonement of the Bible if we're going. But anyway,
yeah,
that's my
yeah,
that's my Calvin
right.
education telling you about
Yeah,
atonement.
one of the sermon series I'm listening to is all about like salvation, atonement, sanctification, mortification, vivification, um, all these terms that the propitiation, like all the um, that are have hour-long sermons on each one, and it's cool to like break down each one and discussing them in the context of the Bible.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Well, I for real gotta go. But great chat with you, bro. Happy Friday. Always great chatting. And have a good weekend, man. Enjoy your time in Boston. And I'll see you soon, bro.
yeah, yeah, good chatting with you as well. Bye.